Hello?
Yo, what's up?
Okay, cool. Not too much today. How are you?
Yeah, same. I just ate, so I'm content. A little bit too full,
Twitch
maybe,
Prime
but
sub received.
content.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you for a
I
piece
had
of
some mac
human
and cheese.
mind.
What did you have?
I had a soup and sandwiches.
Classic meal.
Yeah.
I mean, you did this last time. So you kind
hmm
of know the drill, but yeah, I found it best kind of leave it up to you guys. Say what your strengths are, what you think needs to be talked about. So do you want to talk about matchups, GSL VODs, specific players? Uh, what do you think you can, I guess,
Well,
be most insightful on?
most inside. Honestly, for me, anything is fine as long as it's Terran games. I
Okay.
just, yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I imagine you want to talk about some of the Katowice players and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe there's like a specific matchup you would want a little bit more, I don't know, knowledge on. I guess we can do that.
Sure, yeah. Well, so I talked to Vindicta, and he had a lot to say about TVT. So I
Okay.
feel comfortable with that. Unless you
Mhm.
have anything you really have a burning desire to talk about, like the Cure versus Maru series, which was a total bust.
Resubscription received. It
Not
can't
in
be you are doing
particular.
something
I
Yeah,
more
mean,
okay.
TVT is
important.
pretty straightforward anyway, right? Like, Maru has the perfect late game, and then it goes to the late game, and he wins.
Yeah, right.
And I thought, yeah, it's not too confusing, really.
Yeah. Well, then I think what I would like, especially from you, you're a very interesting TVP player, is the maybe the developing meta of TVP. Seems like we're seeing a lot of fake factory expands.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know if you have any replays yourself. We can just bring up stuff from the last chance replays. I had difficulty with a laser as far as watching replays with each other on like in BattleNet. I don't know
How
if it's been
come?
fixed.
Like, you couldn't host them together, or?
Yeah, it said it would just bring up an error.
Okay.
Yeah, cache not found or something like that.
Yeah. I could also watch via your stream, I guess, or if you.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I think
hmm
I mean it'd be better for you just cuz you could pause and start. But
hmm
we could try the replays first cuz that was a week ago. Maybe they
Yeah.
in turn got around to it.
Also, the GSL games might be interesting as well because I think
Mhm.
there was a good amount of TVP, right?
Yeah, we could
Yeah,
definitely
there
just
was.
watch the GSL games. I'm totally down with that.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah. Personally, in PvP, I think the most notable for me is that people are actually playing a little Stargate again. Because
Yeah.
for a while, everyone was really kind of playing like max packs, like they were either doing 4-gate blink or DTs, right? But now I feel like people have refound Stargate again, playing a lot of Oracle and stuff. And from the Terran POV, I honestly feel like there's just a few Terrans that are so good that everyone kind of copies them, and in particular Maru. So when Maru, I think it was like 2 days ago only or something, where he played against Hero, and he did a lot of like fake proxies and stuff, I believe, and even SCV pulls. So I guess that's
Yeah.
also going to make it more popular, like instantly.
True that. That is a good point. Whatever Maru does, everyone follows suit.
Yeah,
Okay, have any matches you think you want to watch the Maru versus Hero match? That was actually pretty cool.
we could. Yeah, I
Um,
think
The big question for the
is Bunny in the global finals? Probably is, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because I don't really remember watching Bunny against Zest. I think I scrolled through it really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and then let's see what else. Yeah, there was also Cure against Zan, but that series was kind of awful. Not gonna lie, so it's probably good enough to skip that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I guess just any of the top bracket TVPs would be pretty interesting. Probably Zest against Bunny or Maru against Hero.
Yeah, let's do Maru versus Hero because I think you're very right about people copying Maru.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and share. You just tell me if you want to pause and talk about stuff.
Okay.
Um, whoop. Um, this one. Better
Really sucks you can't
text.
get GSL replays. By the way,
Ooh, what?
it really sucks you can't get GSL replays.
Yeah. The qualifiers actually, some people have the replays because Alpha X casted them.
Oh, okay.
So we took a look at what happened with Cure versus Maru, which is on a VOD anyways, but
hmm
it was
And what did happen? I'm also kind of curious because I didn't see it.
Yeah, so we only watched one game because we'd already talked at length about another TVT, but because I was
Hmm.
curious too. I was like, why did Cure fail so hard in the
Yeah.
finals versus Maru after just beating him? Um, he just he played like Maru said he should have, which is that he actually was making moves. He wasn't just mirroring Maru.
Hmm.
So he had his own little like hit squad going left and right, and he was able to find Maru like more commonly unsieged or unprepared for the engagements. So yeah, they were like late game TVTs. It's not like Cure didn't have practice, but it seemed like Cure just had a bad day. Might accuse him of choking a little bit in the finals. Happened
Yeah.
previously.
I mean, to be fair, I think like something that people don't really realize about Maru is that it looks like he just plays like standard macro and late game for the most part, but it's actually one of the most frustrating players to play against because it's like you're gonna lose at some point if it goes too long, and it is. I feel like at this point it goes for like everyone,
Uh
like
huh.
even for Cerro at this point, in their what was it, King of Battle series, like every single matchup. So it kind of feels like you're just playing against a wall, and you can make like moves here and there, but if you don't like actually kill him, you lose. And if you play like a best of seven, game one, Kira was actually doing fine against Maru, but then he still lost, and then
Yeah.
I feel like the mindset deteriorates pretty fast as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit about that, and I was like, it kind of feels like Maru puts everyone in a catch 22. You feel this intense need to kill him.
Hmm.
Um, some like more like mid to late game kind of situation. So you don't get to his late game, but then that is almost a trap in and of itself because he's such a
Hmm.
great like comeback king. So if
Yeah.
you try to kill him, he comes back. You say, okay, we'll play the same game. He wins. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, all
Exactly.
right.
I see that a lot in Clem against Maru as well, where I feel like Clem could probably be even with him in the late game, or like not even, but I feel like he has a chance to win, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then if he gets ahead, he just tries too hard to kill him, and then there's like 8 tank siege, and
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's rough.
But all right, so you can see this, right?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, yeah.
Let's skip ahead to game one.
Oh,
So
proxy here,
I guess
right away.
set the scene here. We got the first proxy, but yeah, the meta is developing in TVP. You would say in general on both sides.
Yeah,
So more
and
Stargates from the Protoss and more like factory stuff or fake factory stuff from the Terran.
yeah, I think it's mostly when the meta builds are figured out for Terran that they start doing fake proxies again and stuff. Like for a while, we had like 3 racks that was working really well, or even stuff like Hellion drop. But it kind of feels like Protoss now know what builds Terran do and they know how to react to them. It's sometimes it feels like it kind of sucks to play like the standard builds. Like yeah, especially when you play against Stargate, if you play like a 3 racks or something like that, they'll always scout it in time and they always know how to react. So when the Terrans go back to this meta, I feel like it's mostly to just not have Protoss be able to play their standard game with their theory, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense. Like you
Yeah.
just want to create like a weird situation where, because if you fake proxy, it's not like the follow-up is still the same because Protoss has like less probes most likely. Sometimes they have like a zealot they don't want to have, and the game is just different. And all the timings work out a bit differently, and it just throws them off.
Okay. This actually reminds me, I think maybe checking out a Showtime series from last cup, not this week's cup, but the last one.
Okay.
He seems to have been figuring out all his little flaws and kind of perfecting his matchups in general, but especially his TVP.
Yeah.
Because I think he faced Clem, and I remember thinking like Clem is doing everything that it sounds really smart, but I'd want to go over that with you.
Okay.
So if you have time after this, I think it
Yep.
was
Sure.
Showtime Clem. Maybe it was Beyond. But yeah. Okay.
It's probably Clem
I
because I
think it
think.
was, yeah, last week because it was the week before where
Mhm.
you faced Beyond, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And I also think the series against Beyond is probably a bit less meaningful because it's on EU.
True.
But
Yeah.
it was the ESL Cup, I think so.
Yeah.
This is a really weird proxy racks location, by the way, because it's neither like proxied or fake proxied. Like it's literally it's really far away from both bases. It feels like.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what he goes into it afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, from what I've seen, it's most likely just double gas, and he's probably gonna make like a Hellion from the. Ah, that's a proxy Stargate. Okay. I remember thinking this was a little bit weird from Hero to like proxy Void Rail in on this map. Because this is such a good Protoss map, it kind of feels like, you might as well save it for a map that's not that good for Protoss.
Okay. Elaborate on that. Why is it good for TVP or PVT?
Yeah, so, well, I mean, first of all, it's just big. Like, big maps are generally bad for Terran already because it takes very long to push. So Protoss can probe up. Like, if you play on like a small map, let's say you play on Curious Mind, it feels like you need to cut a lot of probes, make your gateways earlier, stuff like that. But on a
Mm.
map like Pride, you can very comfortably get all the probes you want, and you're still going to be fine in any case. So a push just hits later, Protoss has more. It's so you kind of want to play a macro game, but then on this map, Protoss can take the gold, which is also a big factor. Because Terrans don't really get the gold most of the time. Um, and also, I don't think Terran would really benefit early on from taking the gold anyway. So my first thought when I saw the proxy Stargate here was that he did it because he could take the gold as a follow-up, because that makes sense to me, right? But he didn't even do that. That's why
Yeah.
I thought it was so weird.
Yeah, I think I thought the same thing. I was watching this
Hmm.
casually, but I
Yeah.
assumed he had taken the gold because this went on.
Hmm. I think it's also possible that he proxy Stargated because he expects Maru to do something weird. Um, and yeah, proxy. I feel like proxy against proxy is usually good for Protoss. Not always, but usually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
And
feel
here,
like
mhm.
I would usually agree, but then looking at this, I mean, Maru, he gets the factory, he gets the backfield accelerator. It seems like it's fine.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. The important thing here is that the barracks is just useless.
right.
Like he probably has a bunker with like one marine, two marines in it, right? Like normally you could have probably two bunkers building, maybe you would have four marines in it by now, stuff like that. And now he literally has cyclones to defend. And I'm pretty sure what's gonna happen is that the hero is gonna make Phoenix, and then there's no marines to like cover his units. So then you
Okay.
can really just dive over the bunker and lift the cyclones because you like normally you would have eight marines to stop it, right? But because the barracks is useless here, he literally just has cyclones
Okay.
and he can't cover them.
Yeah, the Phoenix follow up in this, obviously not exactly new.
Hmm.
But you would say that you would need like 8 Marines. Would that be the number to use here? So if he's, for instance, if I'm casting a game, it's a proxy Stargate, and this guy loses 4 Marines just because of bad
Hmm.
rallies, that would be extremely important, you think?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And I honestly think the only other option is actually to make turrets. But on this map, that probably doesn't cut it just because the Protoss can take the gold as well. So if here you would really commit to holding it hard on one base and just surviving no matter what, you're probably going to lose because the Protoss will take the gold and they are just too far behind. But on another map, I think you can actually go turrets in this situation as well.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like you can see here that it just looks problematic because normally two Void Rays, it doesn't seem that scary, but he quite literally just has two Cyclones and two Marines instead of eight Marines. And he can't output damage at all on the units, at least before he gets Macfield.
Do you
I'm kind of,
think targeting the tech lab here is the right call?
yeah. I mean that costs a lot of money as
Hmm.
well, right? Like as he right now, actually he can still afford a Viking. His starport was very late, so maybe that got into it a little bit, having to repair that. Yeah, and here you go. There's just not enough Marines to stop that. You can actually just go in again and lift them both as well, and
Okay.
yeah.
And Maru builds a tank here instead of continuing
Mhm.
to build cyclones. Is there a magic number, magic time to start building a tank to help break out of the siege?
Actually, no. And here, I think it was a mistake as well. I think it's just kind of hard for Maru to know how many batteries there are being built exactly.
Hmm.
Like at this point, Maru probably still doesn't know if there's like a finished Nexus or not. So he probably just wanted to make the tank to break out of the contain because if there's actually mass batteries going down, you can't break it without a tank. I feel like he probably just thought he was safe and then he made it, but yeah, it kind of fell apart pretty fast without the Marines. I still think he could have survived here if he made an engineering bay.
Okay.
Yeah, it sounds really weird, but it's probably my most successful hold actually against this.
Is there a weakness to that turret defense?
Yeah, it's just that sometimes it's too committal. So
Mm.
like Like yeah, like I said here on this map. But even if this was another map, it would already be questionable because if you look at the low ground, he literally just made 2 batteries. Like he has a Nexus finished, he has Blink, and he has a Robo. And if you're then stuck on one base making turrets, then yeah,
Yeah.
you're kind of screwed. Um, but if it was it's a super strong hold against a more committal push. Like if they actually commit to it and you make turrets,
Twitch
I feel like
Prime
it's really hard
sub
for the Protoss to win.
received. Thank you for appeasing the overmind.
Okay. This game gets, if I recall, it's long and interesting.
Okay. It's kind of weird because yeah, like honestly, if I look at this game right now, it just looks over. He's taking the gold. Maru's already down on army supply against like a natural that has been saturated for a while. Blink is done. I guess how many gateways are there? Maybe like only 2.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's actually only 2. Okay. Oh, it looks like you're observing the. I asked you how many
Yeah,
gateways
it was
that
very
you
well
popped in the main.
timed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and this was when Maru kind of now I remember what happened.
Reason
Maru
for
actually
received.
almost wins this game
Apparently
still
you are doing something right,
because he
Captain.
does an SCV pool. And one of the first things I noticed about this series is that he SCV pulled a lot of games. I think he does it at least one more time after this as well, and maybe a third game. And what I thought is that Maru is so good in the late game, even in TVP, that and Hero is really not known for his late game, if we're being honest. Like he's like a cheeky player, he's fast, he gets a lot of stuff done with his units. So this really felt like the kind of series where Maru would just chill back and win, and he would lose once to like an attack, would win the other games. But it seemed like he actually felt like he had to attack and maybe even do some all-ins and stuff. So that could be interesting for the Katowice games as well, if that's how he feels that he needs to play going up against Protoss players.
Yeah. Yeah, we can't blame it on like ping. This is GSL.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
okay. Yeah, this one.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty scary, but I guess there's battery overcharge and it's going to do enough. It's kind of hard for me to follow the battle because I have like 2 frames, but I guess
Okay.
I can kind of follow what's going on. Look, if you look at the worker count, it's kind of funny. Like it's a close game, but it's 16 against 60 workers.
You got crazy close.
Yeah, this game is definitely one of Hero's strengths. Like I feel like there's actually a lot of Protoss players that would have lost this game. I feel like if you would give this game to maybe let's say someone like Showtime, who typically just keeps it together and doesn't get in these positions. I feel like if you would put Showtime here, you might lose. But the Hero is like a super clutch kind of player that would win these kind of games. Like this does not look very straightforward to me if I look at this from the Protoss POV.
Yeah. On the subject of Hero, he did pretty well against Maru here. Sorry guys,
Yeah.
spoilers, but 3-2. It's no shame to lose to Maru 3-2. But he's been a little bit of a question mark. He's been playing in more tournaments and getting like decent results, but this kind of seemed to prove that he's back to his old standard. Would you say that's true? Or do you think that, he kind of what's the word? He looks sometimes more dangerous than he actually is because maybe his fundamentals aren't there yet again? Or is he actually as dangerous as he used to be?
To me, it looks like he is, to be honest. Like I haven't actually played against him, but Hero was always this player he would either look a bit silly or he would like win the entire tournament, right?
Right, yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this sounds a bit stupid, but I feel like going 2-3 against Maru is kind of like winning the tournament in a way. Like it gives the impression that you would have beaten anyone else. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
And that might not be the case. Maybe he's not as good against Zerg or something, but I don't know. 2-3 against Maru definitely feels like he's back. And I know this game honestly proved it to me a little bit because yeah, like I said, this game is not very straightforward at all at this point, but he still clutches it out. At least I believe he wins this game, no?
Yeah, he does. It's kind of
Yeah.
crazy. It's like a war prism and he micros.
Yeah, this looks like a very typical Hero game to win.
Yeah.
But he's not actually playing in the global finals, is he?
Hero? Yeah.
Oh, he is? Because didn't he come back like halfway through the year or something?
Yes. He did. But he was able. Well, hold on. Let me just.
Maybe he's in the play-ins, or oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
he's the lowest Korean seed. I think I saw it in the.
yeah.
You scrolled past it, I believe. Yeah, look. Oh wow. Yeah, honestly, I would probably favor him to make it out. But could you look at the lineup again? I'm kind of curious with that. Let's
The
see.
this one.
Yeah, yeah. I have to say the Koreans here look really strong. I feel like stronger than last. Like for example, Creator is actually pretty cracked out to be honest right now. Like he 3 Solar twice. I think he had a pretty good run in the tournaments I watched. DRG is looking good. Ragnarok and Armani as well. Like this actually looks like a very scary Korean lineup. I
Okay.
feel like the foreigners are kind of in for a bad time here, if I'm honest.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So like last year you weren't as impressed. I'm gonna try and see if I can
yeah.
find it.
Like last year they owned us, or well, they owned everyone besides me, I guess. Or no, they owned me as well. I just got far because I played foreigners, I think. But I kind of remember thinking last year it didn't look too scary. But this year I feel like they're, let's see, what is it? Beyond Dream. Yeah, like for example, Hurricane, not that fantastic. Neither was SOS at the time, I think. It is kind of the same players though, if you look at it. It's the 3 exact same Zergs.
Yeah.
And it's both Bunny and Beyond as well? Or is it? No, it's Percival.
Beyond
Beyond
and
is that.
Percival, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's actually crazy similar.
Yeah. Yeah, right? Okay.
Okay. But that's still interesting. I mean, I think also you would say that DRG continued to improve over the last year. Ragnarok's kind of like
Mhm.
in a hot spot for him.
Yeah.
I
For
could
sure.
definitely see the argument. Percival, I guess, comes in as kind of the eh.
Underdog Korean, right?
Yeah, well, like we'll see.
Mhm.
Apparently he's been getting like not coaching. He's been getting advice. There you go, advice from Maru though. So that
Mhm.
must mean something. Be good for something.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at his seeding, that means he's gonna play against Ragnarok, if that's how it works, right?
That
Or
was
does the
quick.
bracket not work that way?
I'm not sure. They're gonna
I guess
release the bracket soon.
you could look at last year and see if that's how it worked. Let's see. Don Regu against Cyan, Armani against Probe. Is that what it was? No, it wasn't.
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, then it doesn't work like that. There's some really cool matches that could be happening here. Like, I actually think Diego, for example, if he played one of the Korean Zergs, I think he could totally upset. Like Diego against DRG, I get 100% see him win that.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is all stuff I want to know for sure. Like, you know, do you see any
Mhm.
underdogs, crazy upset potential?
Yeah, I think the two Protoss players on the left there, it's gonna be hard to upset those in particular. I think, like in a PvP, like Australia is looking very strong as well, right? So for the foreigners, maybe Australia could do it, but I don't know. I feel like those Protoss players are gonna be really hard to kill for the foreigners. I think the Zergs are actually a bit more vulnerable. Not because they're worse, but I just feel like I don't know. I feel like I've seen DRG and Armani lose to so many players. Like Armani got owned by Spirit recently. I think he got owned by Kalizer last year actually in the open bracket. DRG lost to Haas last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like those Zergs are a bit vulnerable. The Protoss players look very strong though here, and Beyond as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think, first of all, I don't know how to explain this, but he kind of feels like a foreigner a little bit. Like he feels like a good player, but he kind of has to prove it or make the upset, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And any thoughts on like the main event players?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Maru and Rogue are the big favorites here, to be honest, because I feel like they've undeniably been the best two players of the last like 3 4 months or so. And then you have Trap, who was the best player for like the first 6 months of the year. And then obviously you have like Cyril and Rainer as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm
I
actually
guess.
kind of surprised that Dream is here, like directly in the from the
Well,
yeah.
Korea ain't what it used to be.
Wow. I did get top 4 in the GSL.
He did, yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, it's I mean, you know, Rogue, he didn't really do well at all in Last Chance, but that was
Mm-hmm.
3 series, I guess. 3 series that he played.
Neither in Super Tournament.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But
he's
like,
like, yeah, I agree that he's been doing otherwise very well, but
Mhm.
as soon as I started to believe that he was getting consistent, he was like, JK, let me just
yeah, it's a
lose
very
these
rogue
tournaments.
thing. Yeah.
And how about Raynor? Do you think he's doing that thing like he did last year, where it wasn't like really that great going up to Katowice, but he's gonna do fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like I feel like some players it might not be necessarily practice. Like for Rogue, I think it might not necessarily be practice, but he just maybe just cares more about like the big ones. But for Raynor, it actually seems to be like a practice thing. Like when he's playing Wars, I feel like I can also just see him slack off, if that makes sense. And I feel like for this, he's probably going to practice hard and he's probably going to be in good shape because of that.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
How about the Europeans here?
I'm a bit sad Max Pax isn't playing actually because
Yeah.
I was like kind of looking forward to it, first time and seeing how he goes up against the best in the best environment. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I think the European lineup is very strong though. Like if I don't know, I would replace one of them by Max Packs if I put the top six, but it still looks like a very strong lineup. I feel like Rainer and Cyril speak for themselves, and Clem as well. And then the three Germans, Lambo, Hirmer, and Showtime are all like, I feel like they could even make playoffs. They're definitely not all going to make playoffs, but if one of them made it with like a good run, I feel like it wouldn't surprise me. So I'm happy with how Europe looks. It looks good.
Okay. Anything else from the other guys? Sneeb, Scarlet, Special Time,
Mm,
Zounzer.
honestly, Neeb is like a massive question mark now. Like probably even for you as well. Like, have you seen
Yeah.
anything from Neeb recently?
I brought this up in
Twitch Prime
Vindicta, and he
subs
said that
received.
Neve
Thank
actually
you
had
for
not been
appeasing the
practicing as
overmind.
recently as December. Um,
Okay.
so who knows? Like if he put his butt in gear again, we don't know.
Mhm.
Yeah, no one knows.
Yeah, I think Time is actually insane though. Like Time is. I actually made a video on him. I legit feel like Time is like the most underrated Terran ever because if you look at the season finals, he made like the playoffs 2 or 3 times in a row, and he made top four at the last chance. But still, no one really talks about him. But I feel like if like another foreign Terran does that, it would be like super hype. Like if Gabe or Clem pulls that off, or well, for Clem it's also kind of normal, I guess. But I feel like it would be super hype. But Time does that, and people don't really talk about it. But Time is actually honestly straight up there with Clem and Hiramarine as foreign Terrans goes. Like he's so good, so good.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
he gets to be put in a weird spot. He's not Korean, but because he's so often
Mhm.
found in Korean tournaments or on the Korean ladder, it's
Yeah.
like our expectations for him are similar. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
he yeah, probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. I still will say that while I really like Time, I was still very impressed with his TVT versus Maru. I was not expecting him to take
Yeah.
it
He
out.
was like he did as well as like two cures, right? Combined. Like
Yeah.
because against Cure it was just a bob, but Time actually like it could have been a 2-2 as well, judging from the games. Like they were
Yeah,
good
yeah,
games. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Um
Actually, looking at this lineup, it actually does look really hype because even a lot of the Koreans normally you're like, yeah, they're pretty good, but there's also a few ones here that they're just hype. Like they got better. Like Zaun, for example. Maybe the next big Protoss, I guess. And Bunny, he was like kind of like average for Korean pro gamer standards for a long time, but sometimes now actually looks really strong. Like I feel like I don't know. It just looks like a super hype tournament to me. And Cure, I love Cure. I really like that it says that he's there because he won a GSL. Like Maru does not get to be there, but Cure does.
yeah,
How cool is that?
PH Masters,
Hmm.
I guess alphabetical perhaps.
Hmm.
But yeah, speaking of like how hype this tournament's going to be, I think one of the contributing factors is that we do have some new stuff going on. And we saw some mech in Last Chance. Didn't really see any GSL
Hmm.
though. It's one of those funny things where some people say like mech's going to come back. I'm doing it, and then it's like great,
Yeah.
keep doing it, and they're like, nah, actually it's bad.
Yeah, I mean, from my POV, just objectively, it looks kind of bad. But where Maru plays it, it looks kind of OP. But no one to me, because I like to copy things that look good, and I feel like no one besides Maru has made me want to play it. Even Kyo, who's probably my favorite player, I watched Kyo against DRG in the groups, and I don't know if you remember that game from the last chance. I mean, but he
Okay.
won 2-1, and he lost one game with Bio, and he won 2 games with Mech. But if you look at the games, it was quite literally he would kill 35 drones with his opener, like pre 7 minutes,
Uh-huh.
and it would still be like a close game. Like it was, like it really didn't look good at all. Like I think one game, like I only watched game 3, but the caster said that game 1 was even worse. So I think he could like 50 drones or something, and they were both still competitive games. And you can't convince me to play it if you kill that many drones that early and it's still like close.
Uh-huh.
Like what are you supposed to do if you don't kill that many? You know.
Yeah.
But Maru's games are pretty straightforward. He plays mech. No one ever manages to kill him, which does happen frequently with mech. He never dies, and he splits the map perfectly, gets his ghost, and it looks really strong. But since Maru is quite literally the only Terran that has made it look good, I kind of conclude that it's not that strong. But maybe when because there's still like a month roughly to prepare for this tournament. I think if other really good Terrans copy it and like actually do it perfectly his way, maybe it does make a comeback. But yeah, so far it's really just him that makes it look good.
Okay. Yeah. I would want to go back and watch those games again because I wasn't there casting them. But then he did it in GSL as well.
Maru?
Yeah, didn't he? Didn't
Armani, yeah, I think so. I didn't
Solar.
watch it very closely.
I think
Yeah,
this
Solar.
is this is the one where people were giving Tastosis a little bit of crap, saying he had clearly they hadn't watched Last Chance, which I'm not one to talk. I hadn't watched those VODs either.
But this is the from last year's Super Tournament, yeah?
One. Well, okay. He got me. Yep, it was last year.
Yeah. No, he played Armani in round 1, and he did
Okay.
mech. Yeah.
This one.
But yeah, legit, when he plays it, it actually kind of looks OP. Like he gets his ghost out, and then like, did you see
Yeah, this
Maru
one.
against Dark in the quarterfinals of Last Chance?
Maru
Oh,
versus Dark.
yeah.
Yeah. I did.
Yeah, on Hardwire, like it wasn't even like a contest, or yeah, like the last game, it was quite literally he went mech and Dark tried Swarmost and this and that and tried to attack him. He didn't take any damage. He made ghosts and he walked across the map and killed all of Dark's bases. And when Dark fought, I think he literally killed like, I don't know, 5 of Maru's units or something. Like it actually looked kind of ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a laser commented on the mech stuff as well, and he said that it's like, yeah, it gets a lot scarier if you can include the ghosts and control them correctly, which Maru is most well known for.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know how much room we're gonna see it.
I mean, we're definitely gonna see it from. If Maru doesn't do it, I would be surprised. Like we're definitely, I think, at least on campy maps. Like if on Hardwire, probably, maybe on this map as well, Glittering Ashes. I feel like it's kind of a style you pull out on maps that are good for Zerg against Bio, if that makes sense. Because if you play Bio on big maps, it's kind of rough. But if you play Mech, you kind of negate that a little bit. So like yeah, Hardwire, Glittering Ashes, probably maps where he's gonna play mech in Katowice.
That makes sense. I don't know if he played mech elsewhere.
One thing that's really impressive about Maru is that he finds like quote unquote like imba styles that always work for him, but he still always adapts. So if even though he has like he probably either has 100% win rate or almost 100 in tournaments recently with that. If the Zergs would find a counter in his next month, he would probably just stop playing it, and everyone would wonder, like why the hell is he not playing mech? But it would probably be because they actually found a really, really realistic counter to him.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seemed like a bit of deja vu because remember in 2020 Katowice, that was a leading narrative. It was like, okay, how good is mech? Zergs were saying it was actually super overpowered leading up to Katowice, and then promptly no one went mech. Literally no games were mech.
Well, do you remember the meta? I'm trying to remember what happened because I don't really remember that actually.
Perhaps if we looked at the maps, it would jog our memory.
2020.
Sure, the servers would be fine.
Was that like Rogue against someone? Rogue against Zest? That one,
yes,
right?
Yes, that was Rogue Zest in the finals.
Okay.
They beat the Maru.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember being on the mech train myself, so maybe that's why I don't remember it as well. Yeah, I think it was the Ghost Mech stuff as well, right? Like people were like, I remember tweets. I specifically remember tweets from Denver about it. That's why I remember it.
Yeah.
That Ghost Mag was like super strong or something like that, and yeah, it was pretty much what you said. You would see it on ladder streams, and then at some point, just people stop playing it. But yeah, it's not for no reason, you know.
Sure, sure.
People try to win, so if people don't play it, it's very likely that in practice or sometimes even just on ladder, people find a counter to it. And I think because yeah, honestly, most of the title contenders here are Zerg, right? Like I feel like there's probably like yeah, just those four on the right on the top. Those are probably title contenders for Zerg. I feel like it is quite likely that they do find a good counter to it in time. But yeah, if there's not enough people playing it, they might not, you know. Because I think in Europe, no one plays like that actually. So it might be hard for like Rainer and Cyril to figure it out already. But for Dark
True.
and Rogue, different story. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think
Oh,
we're all
Dark. Sorry.
possibly we're going to see some stuff too if it's all offline, which is the
Hmm.
current situation. Still 3 weeks to
Yeah.
go, but the current situation is that everyone's supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Which seems impossible, but that's the last I heard. Like time, especially, is like I
Yeah.
think
I'm
he
not sure
said
about
multiple
that.
times he wouldn't travel.
I mean, are people from China allowed to travel? Like,
I think I think it depends on the region. You know, they crack down again
okay.
with the Olympics coming, but
Hmm.
as at the very least, his return quarantine is insane. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't know, but I think
5 months.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I just yeah, there's been apparently people have gotten their tickets already. Some people have gotten their tickets already, and the current plan is that everyone goes, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. I mean, here, I don't know, I'm not sure what it's over there in NA, but here in Europe, it seems kind of optimistic, everyone. So, like, the Netherlands was
Yeah,
one of the only countries that was locked down and even were opening since like yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
So, I am also optimistic, but yeah, I've definitely learned over the last 2 years to be like carefully optimistic. Um, yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's gonna be
Before I forget,
odd.
I did want to add that Dark actually annihilated Maru's mech in the World Team League in the last game.
Okay.
Yeah, and he did. It was actually interesting. He played Swarm Host, but he played Swarm Host a little bit different. Like he quite literally knifed in front of his base, and just parked like 12 queens there with full energy, and just played Swarm Host over and over. And when Maru did his typical Maru move and countered with the BCs, that's when he A moved in with everything basically, and it wasn't even really close. And it was Pride of Altars, you know, we have to be honest about that, but
Yeah.
it did seem like there are, you know, 100% they're gonna have strats ready in case. Um, I kind of doubt that anyone is gonna look like really silly. Like they'll definitely have something. The good Zergs, that is.
Okay. I'll have to look that up later.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah. I guess we were talking about TVP. Let's just go through some of the openers, I suppose. See if there's anything.
Yeah, proxy again, right?
Yeah,
Oh, that's
IGL
eBay block.
block.
Okay. Yeah.
Double one.
Nice. Yeah, he likes to do 3 racks after that usually. Yeah. Yeah, but one thing Korean Terrans are really good at, but I don't quite understand, is actually this build.
Hmm?
Like quite literally 3 racks. I feel like the Koreans are really good at it, but I don't really get why. Because when I play 3 racks, like for example, this situation, Blink, if you move out, they just have a bunch of stalkers, and you can kind of trade, but most of the time you just have to fall back. And then it just felt like you just gave up an actual build to do a 3 racks, you know. But the Koreans, they always have like really good transitions, and they still make the games look good. But this is kind of a tough build to understand somehow. It looks so simple, but it's actually a bit complicated.
Is there any prompts for a Terran to engineer in Bay block? Is it map based, build based, opponent based?
Yeah. Uh, Personally, it depended a lot on the player. An example that I can give is that when I played against Goblin in DreamHack, I just 100% knew that if I played eBay block, he would go for a fast Stargate to counter like any kind of like Hellion drop or something you could do. And then if you do a 3-Rax and they're playing like just Phoenix without Oracle, then you're just gonna have a really good time. And similarly, if Maru knew that Hero was gonna play Blink after eBay block, he could have done eBay block into Hellion drop, and it would have been a really good situation for him. So a lot of the times it actually depends on the player you're facing, plus some studying you may have done, because there's always a build you can do to counter your opponent, judging on their reaction, especially in those low eco games. Because normally if you go Stargate against 3-Rax, it's fine. But if you go one base Stargate against 3-Rax, then it's suddenly not very good at all anymore for Protoss.
Okay.
Yeah, and in this series, because of the way Maru plays, it also seems very likely he's just in the mindset of doing annoying builds to throw the Protoss off, because he's either proxying or fake proxying or eBay blocking, so it just seems like he really doesn't want to play like a straight up early game against Protoss. I mean, it could also be that he thinks Hero is too good, but I kind of doubt that. Not to shit on Hero, but since Maru always does really well against like Trap Zest and basically everyone, I would doubt it that he thinks Hero is too good for him to play standard against.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So, yeah.
that's 3-Rax.
Yeah, and this is what I mean. Like he just did a 3-Rax, but Hero survived easily, and now he's kind of in a good spot. Hero is, but I guess this is for Maru being in a slightly bad spot is not that big of a deal, because he can always fall back into Maru mode, I guess, turtling and playing that late game. Yeah,
Yeah.
this was actually interesting. If you go back like a few seconds, Hero was actually about to do fantastic in this game, but then this fight happened.
Right.
Like it once again, it kind of seemed like Maru had some weakness here, because if Hero here, instead of being all the way down there, if he was more up, he could have just, blinked back and recalled, and he probably would have been in a good spot. So yeah, what I take away from this is that, yeah, Maru probably still is better than Hero in late game, but there's definitely something there. There's definitely some weakness.
Okay.
Because this was not a this was I mean, this didn't look like a very straightforward win to me. He was camping and he really needed that like huge fight to win it out. So
Uh-huh.
this series honestly did not make me particularly confident for his TVP.
Okay. For Maru's TVP.
Yeah, I always love Heroes vibes. He has the best vibes in StarCraft. Yeah, like even if like legit, I feel like you could drop a nuke on his entire army and he would laugh. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
great. Yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's just the same. He's really just trying to be annoying. Oh, he got RNG'd.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Here's a question. So the bunker here, we've seen some. I guess there's kind of like two versions now. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's one where you
Okay.
put it as obnoxiously in the mineral line as possible, and there's one where you put it at the front of the nexus, and you can stop the pylon, right, from powering a shield battery to stop it.
Yeah.
Is there anything different between the two other than that? Do you choose one if you go 2 Reapers? You choose one if you go proxy? Like what?
Usually you build it next to the pylon if you're actually doing a full-on proxy Reaper. So
Okay.
if your Reaper is actually next to his base, you can build it next to the pylon, because you can, yeah, like they can't pull probes or they just lose the probes and they're behind anyway. So it's really hard to stop. This is actually more of an, just being really annoying. If it finishes, it's going to be annoying for a while. But yeah, with Proxy Reaper, you really want to kill a lot of probes. But when you do the fake proxy, it's really just disturbing the Protoss as most as you can for the most part. Because with a Proxy Reaper, technically, you want to use the Reapers to scout as well, and you don't mind losing them as much. But if you do a double gas, you want to keep them alive so you can hit together with the Hellions, right?
Okay.
I think he's actually making 3 Reapers. That's a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah, 5 units. Yeah, the biggest weakness of this build is very simply just an Oracle. If you play double gas and you make 3 units, it's actually fine against everything. But to play this against Oracle, you're actually just in trouble, because the one Oracle just shuts it down.
That makes sense. And I feel like I've seen this become more common in this matchup, specifically because I look at it and I'm like, well, this is like a TVT thing.
Yeah, I think this recent meta, like if this actually, like this is just Maru watching, but I'm kind of just assuming it's becoming meta because Maru is spamming it. I think it's going to be really scary for both races going into Katowice to decide on builds. Because if there's like, Oracle counters this, but they'll probably have a counter for Oracle as well, like maybe going, I know, fast cycling the 3 racks or something. Like, if a meta shift like this happens so close to the global finals, I actually think it ends up being pretty scary. Like, it takes a bit for players to figure it out.
Okay, yeah. Makes sense. Don't have too much time. So he does the similar thing anyways again.
Yeah. Yeah, every single game, right? Like, I'm not sure about game 5, but I'm pretty sure.
Well, game
Yeah,
4,
it's either
yes.
4 games or all 5. He did something annoying. Like, he never did a straight up early game. It was the Proxy Reaper and Pride, and then what was game 2 again? Oh yeah, Berlin grabbed the eBay block, and the third game is Fake Proxy. Yeah, it's actually not a single straight up game here.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and tomorrow's playing Zest as well, I think. Yeah, in the Super Tournament. So I guess we'll see if we see some more of that.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I wanted to end on is that this series with Showtime was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, because so this one, Maru kind of dictated the pace by proxying and doing weird stuff. But let's assume that it's people either choose that they can't do what Maru does or they don't want to, and they're playing more straight up TVP.
Mm-hmm.
Showtime was playing really well. There we go. And he actually made Clem look a bit lost. Yeah, lost. Do you, I guess, first of all, do a lot of the European Terrans, the non-Marus, actually, I'll put it that way, does the non-Marus feel lost against late game Protoss that play well?
Yeah, I think so, but it's also like a Showtime strength, right? Like I always see Showtime as someone who's like you have Showtime and Max Packs, and I feel like Max Packs is the Protoss that's better at like unit efficiency and getting more out of his units. But when it comes to like the macro game, that's where Showtime's strength is. And he might be, he's probably one of the best Protoss in the world when it comes to like the macro games in particular. So, like, honestly, if Clem played against Max Packs in the late game, it'd be fine, So I feel like maybe Terrans are lost against Protoss that are really good at it. But since most Protoss don't really play that way, I feel like maybe it's not that big of a problem.
Uh-huh.
If that makes sense.
Sure.
I do wonder how the Terrans would counter Showtime, though, because he's on such a big winning streak.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, sometimes he does get like a little predictable in the way he plays. So it's actually going to be interesting to see if he gets Terrans in his group, how they are going to play against him.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
well-
surprised if they have like specific anti-Showtime builds rather than just anti-Protoss builds,
Yeah. Because I mean, I think this is a good example as best of. I don't think this is the map I actually wanted, but in the entire series, 3 games they played, I think. Showtime did like the same thing, from the Adepts to the Stargate, Oracle, Fast Relay Council afterwards. Would change to a Phoenix. I guess in this game he changed to a Phoenix, but it was, I think it was the exact same thing he did last game. Yeah, okay, this was actually the one that I wanted.
Okay.
So he did the exact same thing last game, if I remember correctly. And I was talking about, I saw the 1-1-1, and then I saw a Viking popping out. And I was like, oh, well, usually you don't really bother doing this unless you know they're going to go Vikings or fuck Phoenix.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that he could even do a push with it. And I was like, well, a push might be really tricky for him to handle, but then it's glittering ashes, so I wasn't sure if that was going to be actually good. But he does the push, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, well, this seems like something that Clem is specifically trying to counter Showtime with, because Showtime is doing the exact same thing every time.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Do you think this is supposed to be good? Was it the map that ends up failing Clem here, or just Showtime's ability to adapt?
Well, I think that there are not a lot of builds that you can use against Stargate. Like Stargate it shuts down like a lot of different builds. Like if you do any kind of medevac drop, for example, any kind of liberator, you already kind of need to hope that the Protoss does it wrong if they have Phoenixes, right? So if people do this build, like the quick 1-1-1 push, I feel like it's most of the time just to switch up or to not always play the same thing. Because I think most Terrans feel like these kind of pushes are not that good. Like
Okay.
if you do this kind of push, I feel like you're kind of putting yourself into like a 40% win situation, like 40-60. Sometimes it works. Most of the time it doesn't. But yeah, other builds you do against Stargate are just passive play. Like this is one of the only ways you can switch it up. So I guess that's why they do it. Everyone does it sometimes. Like I'm probably the Terran out of like the good EU ones that likes this build the least. But even I do it because sometimes you see a Stargate, you scout it fast, you're fast on the reaction, and you
Uh-huh.
can adapt and do it quick. Especially on smaller maps, it works. Um, but yeah, this is just it's just one of the builds you can do against Stargate.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, somehow Showtime manages to make this work.
Yeah, I mean it's not it's honestly very manageable. Like I think at the start he lost like a Phoenix instantly as well. So it was a bit of a rough start for him. And
Yeah.
maybe he also didn't see it coming, but this kind of push is definitely very manageable to beat with Stargate. And I think Stargate, honestly, it fits Showtime really well because it's yeah, like I said, it's very all round. If you play Stargate right, you can counter things extra hard very often as well. Like if there's a yeah, like I said, if there's a medevac coming and you're on top of your scouting, you can see where it's going, hunt it with your Phoenix.
Yeah.
They can't play Banshee. Like it really fits with Showdown to play Stargate, and since he's played it a lot, like even in the past years, not just now, it really seems like he has a he has a good grasp on it. He knows what to do against most things.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
I was trying to think of the it was a very tough hold. I didn't think it was gonna happen, but I don't remember what map it was, so it still answered my question. And then here Marine also lost.
Yeah. That
Showtime's.
actually maybe surprised me a bit more than Clem losing.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, well I think I would agree with that if you had asked me.
Yeah, because Clem is kind of like if Clem is in his vibe, he is just he could be like Maru, like not necessarily the same style, but if Clem is in his maximum vibe, he is just one of the best. He's amazing, but because he plays like super fast and super aggressive, if he's like a little bit off, it instantly like drops a level or two. So and yeah, honestly, the last few weeks, Clem hasn't seemed like he's in his best shape. It feels like he would start dropping maps to Showtime like rather easily. Because if Clem doesn't kill Showtime, I think he's actually in a disadvantage in a macro game.
Yeah.
And for Hero Marine, I honestly usually they're pretty 50-50, but Hero Marine he beats him a lot, and it's quite literally just he macros up and he hits the right timing and he wins. There's no like tricks or anything like that. So Showtime destroying Hero Marine, it feels like he really must be you know, he stepped it up for a level in PvT.
Yeah. I think this is the one where I was the most surprised at what Showtime did and how he held against stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The proxy Oracle does damage, and then he actually bothers building Phoenix from here, which I thought was also cute.
Yeah.
And then here Marine does, kind of not the same push, but he does push,
Mm-hmm.
try and punish. And I was like, this looks
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah.
When you say this is a moment of opportunity from here Marine, he was like, you know what, fuck it, like I'm just gonna try and push.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it feels like a little bit. I
Okay.
think what he probably thought here is that Showtime would go for Colossus after
Yeah.
because he pushed so early. Like I feel like if you know it's like a ton of gateway units, you would more likely wait for Stim and pull SCVs. So the fact that he hit this early, it really felt like he just wanted to hit when there were like no units out and there was like a Colossus being thrown out in the background.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he just guessed wrong or
Made
didn't
sense.
scout it well enough. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know Showtime had been doing that a lot. The
Hmm.
Phoenix into Colossus. This was a change up, maybe because he scouted. Yeah, I think it's because he scouted. Yeah, because he had all the gases. Well, actually, it kind of took him cockeyed.
Yeah, it looks kind of normal to be honest. He takes the third and then he makes the fourth gas, right? Like that's not too crazy, I think.
No, well, especially with the way that he even He actually was even doing the really greedy thing of like not going for Blink or Phoenix, right? He went like
Ooh,
Oracle, Colossus, Charge.
okay. That's kind of gross.
Yeah, yeah. And he got away with it. I think one game each versus Clem and versus Hero.
Hmm.
So it's been
Yeah.
slight differences on his build.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like he looks very strong. I would be a little bit worried for Showtime actually because even though he looks very solid and all around, it is still a different story when you literally have like the six best Terrans in the world with a month to prepare.
Uh huh.
Or it's probably like the groups are going to be announced soon. So
Yeah.
I think maybe even longer, unless he doesn't get Terrans in this group, of course. But I would be worried about his how do you say this, variety a little bit if it's only just Stargate, because I feel like no matter how strong something looks, people will find some kind of an answer to it. Like if he only plays the same build, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes up against Bunny and Bunny happens to be like the ultimate Stargate killer of Korea and he gets owned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it would be good for him to switch it up a little bit more, like maybe do like I don't know DT drop or blink, because I know he can do those.
Hmm.
And then I feel like he really could be like the ultimate PvT player going in.
Okay. And then my last question here, because we actually already went over the Katowice stuff, which was great, but I just
Hmm.
want to get your quick thoughts on like best maps for each matchup for Terran.
Return. Okay. Let's see. For TVZ, I would definitely say that Berlingrad is the best Terran map. I think Curious Minds is actually a little bit overrated. Like I still think it's in the territory where it's good for Terran, but I feel like what I see happen a lot on that map is because of the watchtowers and how open it is. Zergs always have perfect vision and they always make like really fast, strong counterattacks. Like they see you move out right away, they run an army in, and because the watchtower gives so much vision, plus the line of sight blockers, a lot of time it actually doesn't work out that well for Terran. Like Zerg can get really good surrounds. So yeah, I would say Berlingrad is definitely the best one. This is probably still the second best one. Um,
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's
yeah,
definitely teetering away from you guys. Terrans have like a 45% win record on this
I'm
map.
curious.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, honestly, the win rates, I don't really care about that too much. It's just like, especially like the high level pro games and feeling how it plays out is important to me.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I feel like I've seen like especially Clem, I feel like I've seen him lose a lot of games on that map because it's not it's not quite what it promised to be. And yeah, obviously the hardest map is Pride of Altaris, no doubt about that. And then I would say Hardwire is the second hardest map. And I think yeah, the other maps are probably gonna form the best of three, right? Or actually, glitter. A lot of Zergs say Glittering Ashes is their best map. So I'm not sure whether like Hardwire or Glittering Ashes would make the best of three. But Blackburn and 2K should definitely be the other two maps for best of threes. And yeah, it should honestly almost be all the same for yeah, because people know what to veto, right?
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and Blackburn actually doesn't really get vetoed anymore in TVZ. So, and then for TVP, actually recently it's very interesting. Korean Terrans think Blackburn is the worst map for Terran, so they veto that even over Pride.
Huh.
Um, And yeah, personally, I still think Pride is the worst. So I think Pride may be the worst and Blackburn is second worst or something like that. But yeah, I feel like in the best of three, especially for Korean Terrans, you're definitely going to see Pride and Blackburn vetoed. And then the best maps, um, yeah, it's probably also Berlin Ground and Curious is actually way better in TVP than is TVZ. Like Curious is actually the best map for Terran. I feel like that one is definitely going to be vetoed. Um, and maybe Berlin as well. So the maps you get would be pretty similar. You'd get 2K Glittering Ashes and Hardwire maybe for a best of three in TVP.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, I also listened to it on Hirumrin actually mentioned it last night too. I was watching a stream. He also said that Blackburn was probably the worst, which is very interesting because I feel like at the start of the season, last
Twitch
season,
Prime
people
Sabbath
thought Blackburn was
received.
like a Terran
Thank
map.
you for
So it's kind of
appeasing
funny
the
how that
overmind.
switched.
Okay,
But
cool.
yeah. Hmm.
And obviously TVT is a mirror matchup. Would you say there's just
Yeah.
general consensus people hate a map on that one?
Yeah, I feel like Blackburn is either a loved or a hated map.
Uh-huh.
Like it's either a perma veto or people love it. For me, it's a perma veto. Um, I think definitely some Terrans that are playing like it. Like I know Kalizer likes it. I think Cure likes it as well.
Yeah. Okay.
And then honestly, there's a bunch of those maps that always create like the same games. Like for example, I don't think he would want to play Hardwire against Maru. It's like a long map where people are going to camp, and yeah, I think there's definitely going to be some
New
player-specific
subscription
vetoes. I
received.
can see people veto
Apparently you're doing
everything,
something right, Captain.
except for maybe 2K. I feel like 2K, everyone kind of likes it. Every race, every matchup, I think 2K is very
Well
uh,
loved. Yeah.
popular. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was a perfect sum. We went over, I mean, not everything, I guess. We didn't go over every matchup, but still,
Yeah.
everything else was great. Fitting in an hour worth of StarCraft knowledge is always hard, but this is perfect. Thank you
Cool.
very much.
My pleasure.
Just drop me your PayPal because I've probably lost it. So, yeah, thanks again. And I will hit you up in the future for, further tournaments. So,
Awesome. Thank you, and good luck.
thanks, man. See ya. All right. Okay, guys. So I hope you enjoyed that. We're not be uploading this to YouTube, so hello YouTube and all that good stuff. I also have. I was talking about it. I have a laser. I have Vindicta. I also have a meeting set up with Gemini, who's going to talk to me about some of the Alpha X guys, which is really cool because he's actually helping them. So I think we'll get some good insight there. And I wanted to set up more, right? And then I had everything happen that I had, which I was going to talk